second camera to show with a laptop, I didn't know what's better to do, an overhead cam or holding,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
So I figure I'll cook everything up before we do the review. So
Yeah, and a laptop's larger, so you almost need an overhead camera needs to have a little bit further
I didn't even
distance
think about
back
that,
to get the whole thing. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. So we will see how that goes.
We'll see about that. Oh, we'll see about that.
We'll see, my pretty.
I am going to start opening links. Everybody should see and hear us at this point.
All right. Everybody have a good, in the States, holiday weekend? Did you make memories?
Yeah, actually. I had a pretty memorable weekend.
Oh, did you?
Say.
Yeah.
Good memorable. Good memorable.
Thankfully good, but could have been catastrophic. It was.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty crazy, actually. We were at a friend's property in the mountains, which we've gone to a million times, and camping with them. And they have some ATVs there, and we all ride the ATVs and everything like that. And one of the guests that was there, a younger kid, had ridden the ATVs plenty of times, or at least enough times for the owner of the property to feel comfortable to let them ride on their own. And hadn't seen him for a while. He had ridden off the side of the road into the creek down below, which was probably like a 15-foot drop.
Oh, God.
And he was wearing a helmet, and there was a big flat part of the helmet from where his head would have hit the rock if he wasn't wearing it. He came out completely unscathed. And I don't know how. When I went there and looked at it, I was like, there's no effing way that you are on a moving ATV and you fall all the way down there and you don't get hurt. But the kid was clear. We took him to the medical center, just to be safe, but he was totally fine. So I don't know. That was crazy. It could have been horrible. So that was my weekend.
I always say making memories on Memorial Day, because I had one lost Memorial Day weekend with Sarah Lane and David Prager and some other people. The great thing about San Francisco and New York City as well is that Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend, the city's empty. Right. And so the Sunday night of Memorial Day weekend, I met up with Prager and Sarah and some other people, and we were at a bar in the Mission, and then we ended up at Jason, we ended up at Butter in Soma.
Oh, Butter. I haven't thought about Butter in a really long time.
Yeah, and there was karaoke happening and all this. It was one of those very drunken, wild, and I just kept on like, we're making memories. Like, it was one of those.
Making memories. We're going to pay the price tomorrow, but we're making memories now.
That was a fun weekend. I remember that one. But yeah, no, I love Memorial Day weekend in New York City because you can always find a parking space in Manhattan. Which happened again. I drove in to go to Alamo to go to see a movie, and I was able to park like a block away, which is unheard of. And then in San Francisco, the Labor Day weekend is always empty because of Burning Man. So it's always like the best weekend to like get dining reservations or So.
I just like the connection between San Francisco Bay Area and Burning Man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's amazing.
It was always like you get this like wonderful week of like quiet and like non-crowded, and then you slowly start seeing cars coming back that are covered in dust, and you're like, oh, they're back. Yeah.
It's like the end of a Mad Max movie or something.
Yeah. Oh, all right, I'm almost there, y'all.
I got by the way, I don't think this is show content, but I got a wireless charging stand that also holds the watch.
Oh.
Right, look at that. That's
is that
good.
for Pixel Watch?
Yeah, Pixel Watch 2. Yep, it's right there. Yep, it's got the little the connectors. Yep, it just goes on right there, and then your phone goes right here in the front, and then it's also got a wireless charging pad back here for earbuds if you had them. So
one thing I dislike about a lot of the Android specific, like trio charging pads is just how device specific they tend to be. Like that one, you'll only ever be able to charge your Pixel Watch
Right, yeah,
in the watch
exactly,
slot,
yeah.
right?
But
Just
it
because
was
of the way
but
the pins are
it was like
arranged.
$27, Mishaal. It was like
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, oh yeah, I can. What drove me crazy is that I try to maintain minimal wire usage. I gotta look up on Amazon to see what the name of the stand was, but I'll do that while I'm saying this. I try to do minimal wire usage, so I had the this charging stand going into the USB out, port on my CalDigit, like my little USB hub, like kind of thing. And then I got the OS X warning that's like, USB ports are shut down due to one using high power, like reset USB after disconnecting. I was like, oh man. But yeah, here, let me pull it up. And this was what was it called? What is the name of it? Felinta. Here's the link, Jason. If you wanna, do you
Good
have
old
the-
Felinta.
do you have the a
see
browser
here.
open? It was $38.
Yeah, where are you putting the link?
In the private chat.
Oh, okay, gotcha. There's like all these different places they can go.
Excuse me, y'all.
I know.
Okay.
Where is it?
let me
We're talking about products. Just to tell the people who are listening right now, I was really hoping I'd be able to get my hands on either the Chipolo or the Pebblebee trackers today, but unfortunately my Pebblebee order got delayed, so it's coming, I believe, tomorrow or Thursday. My Chipolo order actually got pushed forward, like DHL is scheduled to deliver it today instead of Thursday, but unfortunately I didn't get it before the show, so I won't
Not
be able to
in
do a live
time.
unboxing of either. But next week I'll
Next
have
week's
both.
gonna be
There you
banging.
go.
Yeah.
What I like about this stand, by the way, I just love Amazon optimization. Like the name of the product is charger for Pixel Watch 2, wireless charging station for Google Pixel 8, blah 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 blah. Pixel Buds Pro (parentheses not for Pixel Watch 1), right?
Not for that one.
And if you scroll down to the left to the product images, the second product, no, it's on the left side. Nope, go back up on the left side. There it is. It says, please place the watch on the correct position. Like, come on. Like, this has got to, like, someone at Google's got to look at this and be like, we can do better, right? The fact that they need to tell users how to put on it to charge is just, I just find
The
it
nub
fascinating.
must face you, not
Yeah.
face away.
I know, yeah. And then there's a whole grid. The next one down is a whole grid of compatibility,
Yeah.
showing what works, what doesn't work.
Oh man, Pixel Buds A series does not charge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I appreciate the SEO-ified title they use because, like, it means I
Sure,
don't have
yeah.
to scroll all the way down
Yeah.
to the comments, search through the reviews just to find out will it work with this particular device.
You know what's so funny? Go down. Go down one more. One more. I love this. It's like vertical mode, horizontal mode. just
It's as if it's a total
Right,
bonus
like-
feature.
just
Whoa, so check it out. You can go vertical with your phone, or get this. You can put it on its side, and it's horizontal mode. That's for free. We'll give you that one for free.
so funny.
Only on the phone though, because the phone. I mean, obviously it's the home screen, so it's not rotated. So if you want to just feel like looking at your phone like this, that's that horizontal
Yes.
mode.
That's how I like to
So
look at my phone.
good.
Sideways.
Plus, I think that won't even work with every phone. Like, it's going to depend on the coil alignment and everything.
Yeah,
Like, some
totally.
phones just might not allow that.
Yeah. This shows the coils. There's the coils. Or an estimation of what the coils look like. By the way, you can buy this new right now for $38.69, or you could save $4 and buy it used.
There you go.
$4. Just hopefully they treated it right.
It's been good so far for me. I'll take it. I'll keep it.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Okay, and let's see here. The last thing that I need to do is I need to pull up that video. So let me present video file, downloads, interview. Don't play automatically. Okay, cool. It's not. And then in order for me to play that, it's going to do the thing where it puts it in the window and then I have to full screen it, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we figured out previously,
Yeah.
right? So if you do that in the window and then hit the full screen, I put a little.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can pull
Yeah, you
back.
did.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So you got that. Yeah, there you are. Yep. So all right. Good. All right. Cool. Yeah, you hit full screen layout, and we'll do that. So
Cool.
all right.
All right.
Shall we do the show?
Well, I think we're here. We might as well. It would be strange for us
started.
not to
It would be odd.
at this point.
Now just go home. Or we all actually all are home. So let's, I don't know.
All 86 of you, we just wanted 96 of you. Wow, that jumped up 10.
Oh,
right after
beautiful.
that.
Yeah, nice.
All 96 of you, we just wanted to see if you'd show up. And now that we know that you have, we're leaving. See you later. Just kidding. We're not going.
Burke, are you encouraging us to not do the show for reasons?
Oh, I didn't do any assignments on who does top stuff. Do you want to do it, Win, since you were out?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Yep,
Yeah.
you're due.
Okay.
Do.
Do. And then end of show. Do you normally do top and tail, as they say in the
I've only ever done
industry?
awkward. I've only ever done the intro of the show.
I know it is kind of weird. Okay.
It's like,
If you want to
Hold
take
on.
it, you can take it if you want to go. If you want to close out.
I've never done it before, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, all the things are there. It is a little confusing in the 71 area because there's so much stuff there. You don't actually have to read all that. It's
Okay.
just, or at least not the stuff on the.
Just
right
the
side.
left bit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll give it a shot. Hopefully I don't mess it up, but hey,
It's
you know what?
It's a potpourri of information. You can just reach into that basket and pull out any information you want.
Well, where I'm from, we call it a potpourri.
Potpourri.
My word.
My word. Okay. Enough of this pre-show preamble.
Banter.
Let's make it a show amble. So okay, and then at the top when okay, hold on. We can't do show amble yet. There are things that I know will confuse us, or at least it'll confuse
I was gonna
me.
say, I was like,
because I'm the one opening video streams at the right time. So let's see here. So we'll go. Boom, boom. That work? Whatever. That's easy. Okay. All right. Let's just do that. Okie dokie. Removing from the stage. Removing from the stage. Turning off my camera. Overlaying image. Quiet on the set. Here we go.
welcome to Android Faithful, where every week we're talking about your Android news, your Android hardware, and your Android apps. I am back, and I'm Huyen Tue Dao.
Good to have you back, Win. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm Mishaal Rahman.
Hey, we're reunited after Google I/O now that Win is back from Kotlin Conf and
Copenhagen and all kinds of things.
Conf, yeah.
The Kotlin Copenhagen.
The Copenhagen
Conf.
Kotlin Conf.
How was the Kotlin Copenhagen Conf?
It was awesome. It was. I think the consensus there by a lot of friends that were at I/O or watched I/O and then went to KotlinConf was that they actually really thought it was good. That it was like a real developer-y conference, and it was just really awesome. I did 12 interviews at KotlinConf with some of the
Wow.
guests. Yeah, I didn't really go to the conference at all. I kind of just did interviews, but yeah, it was fantastic.
So was it like the real Google I/O? Would you call it that?
That's what one of my friends said. Yeah, because it had like very grounded developer news. Kotlin 2.0 released. There's actually Kotlin's own version, JetBrains' own version of an AI assistant called JetBrains AI. And I mean, to be real, I actually am really looking forward to it, which is not something I can necessarily say about all the Google I/O announcements, but I actually did interview the tech lead for the JetBrains AI team. And actually, I got really hyped talking to him and kind of learning about Kotlin's, or rather JetBrains' particular flavor of AI assistant. Yeah, JetBrains is kind of known, has been widely known for their tooling. So it kind of, just the way they're approaching AI fits. And I'm really excited about it. So yeah, when that interview comes out, especially since it's kind of AI related, maybe I can link it. But yeah, there were a lot of really good people I talked to. So it was good. I was exhausted. I'm still kind of jet lagged, so I'm sorry if I yawned. But yeah, no, it was a proper developer conference. Take that as you will.
Well,
I'm kind of curious to hear specifically about your thoughts on why you think their approach to AI is you think better than Google's, because like that was one of the key points of the questions you asked when we interviewed Dave Burke and Samir Samant. Like you asked them about why developers, like how will you tell stakeholders at your company to use their AI, in Android Studio and so on.
Yeah.
And so like hearing you say that you're more, I guess, optimistic about the way JetBrains is using it is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like, so just really briefly, because I know we have a lot to go over. I think so JetBrains is the questions that I asked David Burke and Samir Samat were about, privacy and code security, and then also performance. And so, like, kind of off the bat, and what I really liked about talking to the JetBrains AI lead is that I kind of was trying to be diplomatic and kind of like trying to broach topics like, how about GitHub Copilot, which is like, another coding AI assistant, and how about security? And basically, he just kind of smelled what I was going to say and just like met me head on. And so, yeah, basically, so just really briefly, the way that JetBrains is doing it is that they've had a very long history of like code analysis and kind of like all these different tools that they've developed over the years that work with a compiler, work with the fact that they own, for example, Kotlin as a language. That gives them a lot of insight and a lot of knowledge and a lot of access to, the code. The kind of like a knowledge of the code itself, like they have their own model for Kotlin as a language. And because they make the tool, they're able to create a very, very fast, loop with like code analysis, kind of like code generation. And then the important part, which they called grounding, is that they're trying to take generated code and feed it back into their previous existing tools of code analysis to ensure quality. And kind of quality is where the sticking point right now for a lot of, in terms of like developer world, code generation is coming from, because there are a lot of places where, the code generators can also hallucinate, and it can be hard to tell when it's hallucinating, or it can be hard to tell like whether a library that it recommends is real, or whether, it actually is syntactically correct. And the advantage that JetBrains has is that they make the tools that we use and they make the language. And so rather than just kind of looking at your project and just kind of like looking at databases or data sets that they have and kind of just using an LLM, they're actually using their existing tooling to kind of, again, ground generated code. And there's like other things that they have, like I said, they have a specific model, and they even have like this open source data set of like, I should have looked this up before opening my mouth, but like, yeah, they have a lot of like Kotlin data sets where they have a lot of code examples, which they are open sourcing so that other LLMs can kind of access that and also do their own Kotlin model. So a lot of it has a lot to do with JetBrains and who they are as a company and their philosophy. So that's why I'm really excited, because their tooling already and their code suggestions without AI have been spectacular, because again, they write the language and they're able to kind of like, have that insider knowledge, I guess, more or less, to the structure of the language. So yeah, and I think they're relying mostly on that rather than, kind of like scraping a lot of code and then trying to like generate from that. Their data set is a little more specific and a little more kind of language specific, as opposed to being like, looking at all the codes out there. So yeah, it was really interesting to talk to the tech lead. I was really, really kind of nervous, but no, it was really great. And I think I actually am really excited about it, because I think that's how, as a developer, I would want to hear AI being used, as a tool that augments, but that we still kind of ground it. And that's their phrasing, not mine. The results in kind of like the same codes, the code analysis tools that we have to ensure quality and correctness. So yeah,
right. And not to, I'm just playing devil's advocate, not to be defending Google here, but like at least from the conversations that we've had from the developer standpoint, it seems to me the layman non-developer like you are, Huyen, which I we're not worthy. But it seems like that seems to be the approach. Not only with Gemini in Android Dev Studio and stuff like that, but also what I've seen like with Git, Git's tools and like stuff like that. It is a tool to help get stuff done, and you use the AI in that kind of way. Unlike the consumer-facing use of Gemini that we've seen in the past week, where did you guys see the Gemini returning Onion facts from the Onion as an answer? Like, like those, they're not even hallucinations. There's no satire tag on the web, right? Like the AI, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? Which you would hope on a coding level, because it is so line by line by line and very specific, the AI can weed out the hallucinations and the BS from the real stuff. I don't know, but it's all about context, I guess, right?
Yeah, and I think that's it. And I think it's also because JetBrains are being a little more restrained with it. And again, it's almost like I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it, but like we're more generalized, LLMs might just kind of survey and scrape a lot of different code. Again, Kotlin is really the JetBrains AI, as I understand it, and I might be off here, is really just using their inherent knowledge of Kotlin already. And again, I don't know, and I don't think that a lot of code assistants out there are able to have that kind of one last step of like doing that quality assurance check that, hey, this compiles, or hey, that this is relevant, or hey, this library actually exists. My husband has told the story many times about how, for example, StudioBot like last year or recently just generates libraries that don't exist. Kind of like there was like one case where like I think ChatGPT made up law cases and stuff like that. So I think what I'm really excited about is the fact that it's JetBrains, it's their language, and they are able to kind of intervene and kind of help filter out less high quality, like low quality results. So that's what's kind of exciting. And yeah, like JetBrains in general, with anything that they do, I think they have a lot of respect in the developer communities because they have a long history, and they have a very good feedback loop with the community, like us developers. Like they really do take things into account and are investing long term, but they do it with a very restrained hand. And I think that's something that worries us as developers. And I think just generally speaking, I think a majority of devs that I talk to, Android devs that I talk to, were a little apprehensive about kind of the I/O announcements because it all felt a little bit untethered. It all felt very AI heavy and not as, I'll use the same word again, grounded and kind of rooted as we're used to at previous I/Os. Like there's always aspirational stuff. There's always stuff you might not adopt, but there's always something that feels like real and applicable to us now, not necessarily applicable to what our work will be in 5 years. And so I think JetBrains is really good at balancing that. They always are kind of looking towards the future, but trying to keep things kind of grounded. So yeah.
Cool.
But anyway,
cool.
That's my hot take.
What a hot take! Well, I was going to ask you what you thought about I/O because we never got to talk about that post, but you just kind of summed it up in the context of a comparison. Which
So.
I
mean, that's the thing. Like, I really appreciate it, and I have a lot of respect. I think I think of the people that I surveyed, their favorite parts were basically Maru's part of the developer keynote, where again they talked about real things, and Jamal Eason, who was a friend of the show, always does an amazing demo. But I think we all felt very overwhelmed by the AI. And it was really, sorry, just to take another 60 seconds. There was a really great post or blog I saw from CNET. I think it was Andrew Laxon. I might be getting that last name wrong because I can't find my notes right away. But basically he was like, he's like, I've been covering, tech news for like 13 years or something. And maybe like with all the the technical jargon and gobbledygook, he's like, oh, I assume developers, this is normal for them. It wasn't. Like, a lot of Android developers just aren't there yet. Like, great example is when the 2 million tokens announcement came out. And a lot of really senior, very experienced developers I know, Android developers, were like, "What's a token in this context?" Like, so we're not there yet. And so so we're kind of like we literally did not have context to talk about the context tokens. And so a lot of this felt like just way past us. Like a lot of the pricing information and like the little strategic stuff is kind of like above developer pay grade and kind of, again, very far off. So I think that was just a general call, like, where's our real developer stuff? And AI is nice, but we just, again, don't have the context for this. What's happening? So, yeah, sorry. But that's how we felt. That's how most people I talked to felt. Your mileage might vary, so...
All right. Well, we should explore that in upcoming weeks. Let's talk about let's have somebody on the show or something like that. That'd be cool.
Monopolized a bunch of time, but
it's all right. We should go back and update our show notes to reflect that Kotlin conference breakdown is actually our first piece of news.
That's a good
thing I'm
point,
about to talk about.
Conf,
We'll add that to the show notes for sure.
Well, something I did do, by the way, at both conferences is wear my Android Faithful swag. I'm wearing I've worn this sweatshirt for like 2 weeks, so I should probably wash it. Or I could, if I really wanted to, take advantage of our current t-shirts.
Yeah, just get another one. Yeah.
I should get another one because right now our Threadless store is running a sale and it's been extended. So you get $13 tees and up to 40% off like a lot of things. So yeah, this is running until May 3rd.
June 3rd.
5 p.m.
June 3rd.
Sorry. June 3rd. My bad. It would not be good if it was May 3rd. It's June 3rd. So the sale's running until June 3rd until 5 p.m. Central Time. So yeah, if you, like me, just need you an Android Faithful hoodie or a t-shirt or a rug or just about anything else to celebrate us and our discussing of the Android news every week, go ahead and check out androidfaithful.threadless.com.
Yeah, I mean, 40% off everything. You can't beat that. So if you've been on the fence, now's the time to jump. So
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, we got more news, right, Mishaal?
That's right. So, Google, we talked about last week, or actually since we talked about all the stuff that happened in Google I/O. One of the big announcements was Android TV 14, or rather Android 14 for TVs. The big update that's coming to select Android TV devices later this year. And when I took a look at the emulator build that Google dropped alongside I/O, I noticed a couple of things that were in it that weren't publicly mentioned. One of the key features is a new Find My Remote feature that seems to be coming to be baked into Google TV in the Android TV 14 update. So there's this device that's available right now in stores in Walmart called the On Pro 4K TV. And when users bought that device, they noticed there was a Find My Remote feature that is able to basically play a sound on the remote and also flash an LED light as long as it's within Bluetooth range of the actual dongle. That feature, it wasn't known at the time whether that feature would be actually exclusive to the Walmart On device or if it would be part of the Google TV platform. And because I found this same feature, the same description, like the same interface and everything in the Google TV 14 emulator, that suggests this is actually a native feature of the Google TV platform. Now, of course, this is not the kind of feature that can just be enabled on any existing remote and TV device, because you still need to have a remote that's capable of having, a beeping sound played off of it. So your remote needs to have a speaker. And optionally, your remote also needs to have an LED light so that it can start flashing when you lose it. But the fact that this is a feature, a native feature in Google TV, suggests that we'll be seeing more devices in the future with a Find My Remote feature. And I'm sure that's really good news to anyone who loses a remote. If you have small kids or just a big family.
The Google TV, Chromecast Google TV remote is so small. It is tiny, so easy to, and what's so funny is that my wife and I use it to control what the kids watch, and we'll do it at a distance. Like the kids will be on the couch and like I'll have it in the kitchen. I'll be doing stuff and I'll leave it on the kitchen counter and then I'll walk away and she'll come into the living room, try to change it. Be like, where's the remote? And so I could see, we would use this.
We would use it too. I send ours into the depths of our couch constantly, and I'm just like, husband, what did you do with the remote? And then it's like under me. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I'd use this to find the remote that my dog swallowed and is in his stomach.
Oh,
he didn't actually swallow a remote, but he's come pretty close. So someday I might
would you hear the
beeper
beeping
going in the stomach?
Would you hear the beeping coming through his tummy?
But I'd be like, oh damn it, Bronson. All right, fine. To the vet we go.
Poor doggy. Oh man.
And the other update is actually something Google did mention in their blog post, but they didn't clarify a very important point. So they mentioned that picture-in-picture mode is finally coming to Google TV. And if that sounds like a feature you've already had, well, you'd be half right. Android TV, in fact, the Android platform has supported picture-in-picture mode for several years now. Like it was first introduced to phones with Android 8.0, and it's become available across many different platforms since then. But a lot of Android TV devices haven't supported picture-in-picture mode, mostly because a lot of Android TV devices have pretty underbaked hardware, so they just don't have enough memory to support running another app layered on top of another. But Google TV, which is like a flavor itself on top of Android TV, has never supported picture-in-picture mode until the Android 14 update, which is coming, as I mentioned, later this year. So with Android 14, Google TV devices like the Chromecast with Google TV may support picture-in-picture mode because, again, this is not a guaranteed feature. It's dependent on whether or not the device that you have has enough memory to support it and whether the device maker enables it. But the key point that I wanted to bring up that Google did mention in their blog post is that picture-in-picture mode won't work for media content. It'll only work for a handful of content types, such as news tickers or like score tickers at the bottom, or like if you're in a video call and you go back home, like you can have that video call in a picture-in-picture window. So these specific categories of use cases that I listed on the Android Authority article. There's like 4 explicitly allowed types of functionality that developers can use picture-in-picture mode for, and none of them include media use cases. So if you wanted to say have like one YouTube video open in a window while you're watching something else, or have like one live stream open while you're doing something else, you can't have that because Google will be explicitly checking that only these 4 use cases that are highlighted if you're watching the video feed, which include communication use cases, smart home integrations, health use cases, and ticker use cases. So those are the only 4 types of functionality that developers can build picture-in-picture mode support on their Android TV apps.
And that's because they want you to buy YouTube Premium. So you get your picture-in-picture over there. You don't get it here, even though it makes so much sense for it to be here. But anyways.
Yep. Very interesting.
Make the money.
And just a quick programming note, that's not the only Google news we have. We're doing news a little differently this week. So stay tuned because we got some exciting more stuff from Google that was just announced today. But we got a couple more stories to get to before we get to that. So Huyen, why don't you tell us about Honor?
Yeah, so Honor. Is it? Wait, Honor. It's a non-silent H. Honor. Actually, last week just introduced a new AI architecture for its smartphones, and it is going to be bringing that AI architecture to its new members of the 200 series, the 200 and 200 Pro. Now, this AI architecture did get announced last week, and it will be integrated as part of Magic OS, their flavor of Android. So very much in a similar way to how Google is trying to integrate Gemini deeply into the OS. Honor is basically trying to do the same thing where the AI stack is just part of the OS, and it will have 4 layers. I forgot to open my notes, but yeah, the 4 layers, there's 4 layers, cross-device and cross-OS AI. That's the first layer, platform-level AI, app-level AI, and interface-to-cloud AI, each with their own kind of domains and purposes to kind of best serve like these various applications of AI within kind of like a user's day-to-day life and the way that, different apps and system services will use AI. So as for the phones, the 200 and 200 Pro, they're very, very similar, but there is a partnership with Google for Gemini integration. And if you're curious about specific specs, they are very similar. The biggest differentiation of the two is that the 200, the kind of baseline model, is rocking the Snapdragon 7 Gen 3, whereas the 200 Pro has the Snapdragon 8S Gen 3. But relatively speaking, they have a very distinctive, like this 200 series, because we always like looking at the camera bumps, because we're weird like that. The camera bump on the Honor 200 series is this tall elliptical shape. Yeah. I don't even know what to liken it to, but yeah, it's the 3 camera units, or the 3 lenses rather, are stacked on top of each other inside of this elliptical shape with the flash kind of next to the middle unit. And those are, let me see, we got a 50 megapixel telephoto with 2.5x optical zoom OIS, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 50 megapixel selfie camera. Both 200 and 200 Pro will be rocking a 6.7 OLED FHD plus, 120 hertz refresh, a 5200 milliamp battery with 100 watt charging. And in terms of price, right now these are only available in China, but if you do the conversions, the 200 is somewhere between 370 to 440 USD, depending on the memory configurations. And the Pro is a bit higher at 485 USD to 200 to 620 USD, depending on memory configuration. And they are available for release in China on May 31st. There's not a lot of information about other markets, although there is a tweet that Honor put out about some kind of 200 related event on June 12th in Paris. So we'll see if the European market gets it. But yeah, this is going to be like Honor's very first like AI oriented phones, and probably not the last ones we'll see in the coming weeks, months, and years.
I will give Honor credit that their phones always have a little bit of the sexy to them.
Yes.
Right? Like a little bit of the design zhuzh to it to make them just a little fancier. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I like that look with the little pill, the camera pill on the back.
Yeah, and it kind of the like colorway or whatever. I don't know, if it's glass or if it's plastic or what, but it kind of has almost like an ivory looking quality to it. Yeah, looks pretty slick.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes.
All right, Honor.
Pretty slick. Good job on her.
Pretty phone. Pretty camera bumps. That's not all that we care about.
It's all about
I'll
how
bring
sexy
some of
is
those phones stateside.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
right?
It's all about how sexy is your camera bump. That's what it
I
boils down
mean,
to in phones these
When it
days.
gets down to it,
I
yeah.
feel like there's a parody song, that Black Eyed Peas song we could parody at some point. I got to write
I mean,
that.
really, at the end of the day,
Camera
the
bump.
camera bump is the thing that makes most Android phones, I'd say,
Noticeable.
discernible from each other.
Yes.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Otherwise,
Yeah.
they all look very similar. It's like they've
I can
realized
spot a
the camera
pixel
bump.
from like hundreds
Totally.
of feet away.
Oh,
just,
wait.
just
Oh, I've
one
got the
second
best-
looking at the back.
I've got the best story, by the way. So I was at an event at Google recently, which I'm going to talk about in about 5 minutes. And I was getting a drink, and another member of the press was there, and I was holding my phone, and she was like, "What phone is that?" I'm like, "The Pixel 8 Pro?" And she's like, "Oh, I've never seen one without a case on it." So she had never seen the blue colorway, and I was like,
Oh.
yeah, I don't use cases. And then she's like, what? And then we had this whole conversation about cases. But it was like, I thought it was very funny that at a Google event with many
Yeah.
people covering Android, this person had didn't know what phone this was. And I was like, because I didn't have a case on it. So
Oh, I will say in
Everyone
Copenhagen.
has a first time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
First time spotting it.
I will say in Copenhagen, I was very hopefully discreetly phone spying and trying to ignore like the other developers because I feel like that skews results. But on the metro, I did see, like, as you said, the very distinctive iPhone camera bump. But I'd say like 40%, maybe 30% of the other people I saw were pixels. I saw so many pixels in
Cool.
Copenhagen. I was really excited. But yeah, the bar versus the other one. But yeah,
Yeah.
as much as I would spy on people in their phones. Anyway.
Not weird spying.
Not weird spying. I swear. I
glancing spying.
swear. Just information. Nope. Never mind.
Glance spying.
Glance spying.
That could sound weird too. Anyways, it's time for the patron pick before we get to the really big news and special stuff that we have planned for this episode. By the way, you can become a patron by going to patreon.com/AndroidFaithful, and you can get your name read out live on the show. Rick Ankrum, Roberto Rodriguez Lapistida from London, Dean Shiro Leif Hevel Jorstad from Norway, and Justin T. Sometimes I don't know whether okay. It's hard to say 5 names that you haven't really said out loud. But there you go. Thank you for being our patrons. We appreciate you and could not do this show without you. We also appreciate those of you who support us and send us some amazing artwork. Yes, AI generated. Who knows if Gemini was used to make this image of a robot, an Android robot, reading the news from the newspaper, which has really just become the thing that the AI generated Android bug droids do. Thank you, Josh Rose, for this.
I love it. This is a good one. This is Josh did a whole series of like old-timey steampunky ones or whatever. So yeah, we'll see more from Josh in the future weeks. So yeah.
Love it. And he's reading the Andud Erninon Autu Unus. So there we go.
I'm fairly certain that in the newspaper, by the way, in the center of the newspaper, it's hard to see. I'm fairly certain the center head is Willem Dafoe from Poor Things.
It is.
This one?
It is.
Right? Yeah,
It is,
isn't that?
totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, I was thinking it was Michael Myers from
Oh, yeah, no, but I saw that. I'm like, oh, that looks a lot like Willem Dafoe in Poor Things with the jaw and everything. Yeah. So.
Poor Things does have, I think, a steampunk adjacent vibe. So
Oh,
who
for sure. The
knows?
production design of that movie,
okay.
the turn of the century steampunk vibe of that, like I could see how it could make that connection here.
I mean, this Android probably was on the cruise ship with them for people that watched Poor Things. Anyway.
Oh man, I just thought of a really great costume idea for Halloween is to just get some random AI image and just pull out one face and just like that's the face.
Cool. Yeah.
That's my costume idea. I'm not going to actually do that, but I'm sure someone's going to. Okay, so you had 3 stories to vote between if you were a patron and you got your vote pick in on time. The one that lost, the one that should feel so bad because it's just not as good of a story compared to the other 2. I'm sorry. Poor you. Watch your wallets. Google has more than doubled Play Store's app price limit to $1,000. You only got 13% of the votes. You should be ashamed of yourself. Also, YouTube Music now lets you sing or hum to search on Android. Haven't we heard that one before? 38% believed that maybe we had. And the winner this time around, iFixit breaking up with Samsung. iFixit announced it is no longer partnered with Samsung, or will no longer be partnered as of June 17th. Failed contract negotiations, and Kyle Wiens, who's a really wonderful guy to talk to, by the way, if you ever get the chance. iFixit CEO said there were many reasons for this. High-priced Samsung parts, like very prohibitively high. Restrictions on selling multiple parts to a single customer within 3 months. They basically limit the amount of parts that can be sent to a single person, and that caused some strain on the partnership. And then lack of access to official parts for very specific devices, but very popular devices. And so the deal is off. iFixit is going to begin stocking aftermarket parts and, its own repair guides, which might not be as thorough, but iFixit does a really great job with their repair guides, so I'm not too bent out of shape about that.
Aren't there like authorized Samsung repair places? Like you break iFix, that's a place here in New York, or at least in the whatever. They say like authorized Samsung or whatever. Like I wonder if there's a path that iFixit goes in that route to get around those hurdles that they run into. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like partnering with those shops directly instead of Samsung directly.
Yeah, I'm sure they've looked for other reasons, but other things. But like those restrictions on selling multiple parts to a single customer, just seems like those places are getting them right.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. I wonder what the difference is. I mean, probably at the end of the day, iFixit is really trying to make, self-repair and home repair very accessible.
Yeah.
And if Samsung's making it really difficult, and that goes counter to their mission, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah. Like, iFixit is definitely clearly a huge proponent in the right to repair.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And like
Right.
there's a lot of pressure on companies like Samsung, like Apple, and many others to support making their devices more repairable. So they kind of have incentive to make these partnerships and announcements to get, the good press. Like, hey, we're supporting these,
Right.
These movements, and we're letting you repair your own device. But this is an example of maybe those commitments and those promises were just surface level. Just
Totally. I think
press,
you're absolutely right.
right. And like another example, like another famous is the Apple. Like they're famously very anti self repair.
Totally.
And
totally.
they have
Like,
like a kit that they
here's
ship
your
out
way
to
to
you,
do it,
right?
but it's so
like a 400.
prohibitive.
It's like a super 200-pound thing they ship to you. It's like completely unusable by most regular users, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely like iFixit. It's good on them for taking a stand and like shooting back when they see something they feel is wrong.
Yeah.
They definitely come out on top here, at least in terms of the PR. Like we're trying, and
No, iFixit is great. They've done a lot for the movement, and the work that they do to like create those repairability guides and offer the tools that are specific to the devices is just, they're so good at what they do.
the movement. I like you make it like
The
it's some
movement.
sort of
good.
like a labor. Like
Well,
people taking
right
to
to
the
repair
streets,
is a movement. It really is. It's a big industry kind of thing, and iFixit is always there. Many of the times when there's a big story in the right to repair, iFixit or Kyle or someone else from the company is there talking about it, and they're really involved and engaged in the movement.
Right.
Doing God's work, as Ron might say.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody for voting in the Patron pick. We appreciate you. Go to patreon.com/AndroidFaithful. That's how you can get in on it. So
There you go. There it is on the screen. If you're watching the video version, you have no excuse not to go there, because now you can see it with your eyeballs. Patreon.com/AndroidFaithful. All right. Up next, we've got one of the big kahunas of the episode coming up. Don't go anywhere. Ron, you got to take a field trip.
I did. So last week, actually, Google here in New York hosted a Chromebook showcase event that I was lucky enough to attend. Saw many of friends of the show. David Immel, last week's guest, he and I were at that event together hours beforehand, which was kind of funny.
Hours before the show.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it was a really, really great event, and that's it seems like every 6 months, or at least the last event was in October where they released the Chromebook Pluses, and here we are 6 months later with the latest update in the world of Chromebooks. And as you can imagine, coming out of Google I/O, a week after I/O, a lot of the conversation was centered around the integration of Gemini and integration of AI into Chromebooks and Chromebook Pluses. That was a huge piece of it, but it wasn't all about AI, which is which is really kind of like relieving to hear. But at least on the AI side, they have a whole bunch of specific AI tools that are integrated within the Chromebook and Chromebook Plus experience to basically make your productivity, improved and easier, right? So they have Help Me Write, which is a feature which is now, if you are a Gmail user, you're familiar with this, the ability to have Gemini, within where you're typing text, give you assistance. This is a right-click integration. So you can be in any application and conjure up Gemini and say, help me write. The example they kept on showing, which is like, you need to write a blog post. You need a catchy blog title, whatever. But I tested this on a Chromebook Plus in WordPress on one of my websites, and I was able to integrate Gemini right on top of the layer, on top of what we're doing pretty seamlessly, and it worked pretty cool. Of course, they have generative AI wallpapers on Chromebooks now, using the I want a landscape with a pink hue, like that uses those prompts versus having to type in a whole generative AI kind of thing. I kind of wish they gave you the free form, let me type in whatever I want, but it's very controlled in the generative AI
Then
stuff.
you're going to create bad things that gives Google bad, reputation.
Then they also rolled out generative AI video call backgrounds, which was nice to see this get announced because, of course, this is the next step of the generative AI wallpapers. But they made the point of saying, and these video backgrounds will work in Google Meet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, whatever you want. They're being application agnostic. It's like you have a laptop, you might need to connect via video on any one of these apps. We want to give you a cool background, and you can use on any of them, which I thought was very good of them and kind of fair in that regard. But the big AI infused little update that they're offering up is now Magic Editor in Google Photos available on your Chromebook and Chromebook Plus. To me, this is kind of a huge one that I saw because we've all played with the Magic Editor photo editing tools on our phones. And I actually, we talk about it in our interview in a little bit, but I mentioned, my wife was like, oh, I wish I could do it on my computer. Well, now you can. If you have a Chromebook and Chromebook Plus and use the Google Photos app, you can access the Magic Editor stuff on the desktop environment for even more enhanced photo editing, which is really cool. They've also got a whole bunch of other new features like easy setup with your Android phone. It just gets easier and easier to set up that device. Integrated Google Tasks integration at the OS level. They enabled the ability to do GIF screen recording, so you can create a GIF from anything on your screen at any given point. Which is
I wonder if that's
fun.
how they created some of these things.
Possibly,
Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that's a. I don't know.
And then a big one that they highlighted was the fact that a lot of Chromebook users are gamers, which I was surprised by to hear. And so because of that, they've released an updated game dashboard, which gives you kind of this on-screen window pane on top that gives you additional controls for your screen, the ability to capture video, and it's almost like it's not fully. You're not going to be on Twitch streaming and be the next, streaming gamer, but it's a good entry point into the gaming plus kind of experience where you can record your game experience and have an easy way to publish it and that sort of thing. Take screenshots and all that fun stuff. So that was pretty cool. They're really pushing the Google AI stuff, so much so that if anybody who purchases a Google Chromebook Plus will get the Google One AI Premium plan, which gets you access to Gemini Advanced for 12 months for free. So talk about like hook 'em, first one's free and hook 'em. Like imagine after a year of having it, you're probably gonna get used to it and want to keep it. I guess that's the plan. And so that gets you Gemini Advanced, 2 terabytes of storage, and access to Gemini and Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, Gmail, etc. So it's a pretty robust offering with this sort of stuff. And with that, there's a whole lineup of new Chromebooks partners that have new devices out there, from Asus to Acer to HP, all new versions of Chromebooks and Chromebook Pluses, and the price points on these are really, really compelling. On the low end, and we're going to see it after this interview, but you can get a Chromebook Plus for $349, and on the high end, $699, which is much, much cheaper than some of the other folks that are out there, at least on the recent laptops we've seen hit the market. And the whole theme of their conversation, as you'll see in a moment, is they want to make this stuff accessible and make people's lives better. It's all very googly. We want to make people's lives better, but in this case of providing affordable hardware with the best kind of software integrations that you can with Gemini Advanced and that sort of thing. So whether you buy into it or not, up to you to decide. But we wanted to learn a little more about it, so we sat down with John Maletis, who is the VP of ChromeOS at Google. We talked to him coming out of this event last week. We actually went over in our time. He was very generous in his time, and we had a great conversation about what this is and basically what these updates mean for Android users. So with that, I will throw it to our interview, and you can guys hear from John himself. And we are super excited to welcome John Maletis, the VP of ChromeOS from Google. John, it's good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, great to see you guys. Thanks so much for having me.
And John, it was great because I just saw you last week in New York City. There was a great event around the release, or how would you refer to it? Release or update to the Chromebook line?
Yeah, kind of an update because we initially launched Chromebook Plus last October, and so then it was just kind of an update on a lot of the exciting things that we've been working on, and then also looking forward to some of the cool stuff that is coming down the pipe.
Yeah, and it was great at that event because we got to see some hands-on demos with a whole bunch of the different Chromebooks from different manufacturers, but then also a couple members of your team shared some of the different updates. So before we dig into that, I did want to ask you, going back to October 2023, that's when we saw the introduction of the Chromebook Plus. In that time period, how do you feel about the current state of Chromebooks? And how do you feel going into this latest update after adding that piece to the line?
Yeah, I mean, I'll perhaps overshare a bit, but I've been working on Chromebooks for the past 4.5 years. It's been around for about 12 years now, and over the years before I joined, the team had looked at whether or not to introduce a higher tier, and the timing was never right. And then about 2 years before last October. We revisited those decisions and decided the time is right, but you never know how it's, introducing a new tier. You never know how it's actually going to be received in the market, but we've just been incredibly pleased with the reception. Retailers have been very excited, seeing significant growth in the ChromeOS category at that price point. OEMs, SoC partners, really thrilled, and all of the ecosystem continuing to invest with us to build out this category. And then, most importantly, talking to our customers and they're especially those customers who have loved Chromebooks and then are just looking for something slightly more. It's been really exciting and promising, and it's going to take a while. And we're in this for the long run.
Great, excellent. So we're just coming out, or we're 2 weeks since Google I/O. Feels like it was just yesterday and also a lifetime ago at the same time. But obviously at Google I/O, artificial intelligence and Gemini was, I think it was every other word spoken by everyone at Google. And sure enough, Chromebooks are not alone are not separated from that. Gemini is ever present in your guys' presentation and in this new update for the Chromebooks. So really kind of curious what the process for you and your team was for the implementation of bringing Gemini and AI to Chromebooks, and what were some of the challenges that you guys encountered adding these features to Chromebooks and Chromebooks Plus?
Yeah, I think and I mentioned this last week at the event, but I really I think one of the most important things that we can do with Chromebooks for our customers is kind of what I call bringing the best of Google to Chromebooks, and kind of building the product truth that the best manifestation of Google services in a laptop form factor is on a Chromebook. And you can't talk about the best of Google services if you're not talking about all of the AI that we've been invested in for so long, and then now just in recent months on Gemini. And so it's incredibly exciting. I think the perhaps the most challenging part of this was, it's such an incredible, Gemini is such an incredible product. And so, a lot of product teams within Google are approaching the Gemini team and saying, hey, how can we integrate? How can we collaborate? And so, but there are just a lot of fans within Google for what we're doing on ChromeOS. And so those conversations ended up being pretty easy, and wanting to help one another. And so I think probably the other thing is just the space is moving so quickly. The models are updating so quickly. And so kind of, you walk in one morning with a plan, and then by the afternoon, you're fine tuning. And so it's just probably the rapid evolution has been a challenge, but an exciting one.
For sure.
Another team within Google that has clearly been working very closely with Gemini is Android. And as we saw last 2 weeks ago at Google I/O, Android is getting so many integrations with Gemini. It's not just ChromeOS, it's getting all these integrations. I wanted to ask you, can you talk a bit about how Gemini might make, Android phones and Chromebooks more synergistic and work better together?
Yeah, I love that question, because I think we have a program within Google. We call it Better Together, and it's basically ways of making sure your devices, whether it's your phone, your watch, your laptop, your TV, your car, how they work better together. And if you're embracing multiple Google products, devices, that you get kind of outsized benefit and multiplicative benefit from adopting those. I think what is really exciting is thinking about that at the services layer. And so, and if you think about Gemini on Android, Gemini on a Chromebook, Gemini on whatever product that you have, I think the consistency and experience is going to be really, really key, and something that I think customers are really going to love. So that when you're using Gemini on your phone and then you flip over to your Chromebook, that it feels natural and it feels like you're not starting a conversation all over again. So there's a lot in that space, and just like the continuity, and having, we also, as you heard at I/O and we spoke about at the event, our event, Gemini is not just Android, not just Chrome OS, but also infused in a lot of Google services, whether that's workspace, search, et cetera. And so that consistency of how you interact with Gemini, I think is going to be really exciting.
And just to follow up a bit about on that, some of the features that you're working on the Better Together suite, one of the things that you guys talked about or you're announcing is this new quick start capability to set up your Chromebook with your Android phone. Can you talk a bit about how that works and how it makes things a bit easier?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what we find is a lot of customers coming to Chrome OS, and Chromebooks, they're coming from two directions. One, they're Android customers, and it may be their first laptop, and so they're choosing a Chromebook. Or we've got a lot of customers who have Android and say Windows, and they're moving over to Chromebook. And so the idea is it shouldn't be a cold start, and so it should be a warm start. And so you've already invested quite a bit in, say, Android, and you've got your Google ID, you're likely using the Chrome browser, you've got your Android applications, and so how can we make that seamless so that when you are a first-time user of a Chromebook, that you're not starting from scratch, and that we're helping you along the way, so it feels more familiar. And that also, Mishaal, goes back to the point around bringing the best of Google to the laptop form factor. People who are invested in Google services should have that continuity and that seamless transition.
I got to say, I can speak from experience after setting up my Chromebook Plus after the event. I did get a little freaked out when I logged in, and then I just you forget. I opened up Chrome and all my bookmarks were there, and I went in to change the wallpaper and clicked on photos, and all my pictures of my kids were there already. Like
Yeah.
it was a little trippy about how seamless it was. But then of course I'm like, oh wait, duh, of course I logged in with my Gmail account. It already knew I had a Pixel 8 Pro and was using that for the tethering and all that sort of stuff. Like it was very, very seamless. So
Yeah, and I think that's one of the benefits of being a cloud-based operating system or cloud-first operating system is that that data is yours in the cloud, and so it can translate over. It's funny you mentioned that because my wife is probably my biggest product critic, and she recently got a new Chromebook, and I was expecting her to be freaked out by that, but she was like, "It was just so easy. Like all my photos are here, my docs are here." And so if I can miss critique from my wife, then I feel like we're doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone here in this grid on screen right now has had the experience of setting up multiple devices, be it Android, be it Chrome or whatever. And over the years, that process has just gotten easier and easier.
Yeah.
So I know for my own quality of life, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
One question that I have is, we're in a moment right now where artificial intelligence obviously is being integrated into all things. Obviously it's not just Google. Microsoft just had their build announcement. A large part of what Microsoft was talking about was, embedding AI on a deeper level into kind of the way you work with the operating system. And when I take that paradigm and then place it onto the ChromeOS experience, I guess my question is, a lot of what we're seeing, and actually we see this on Android too with the Tensor chip, we're seeing these dedicated AI processors on the hardware to enable this more advanced direction of AI applications on device. And I guess what I'm wondering is, there's a lot of really great announcements here tied into this announcement. That's why you're here regarding ChromeOS and Android. Are we moving towards a time where a dedicated NPU or some sort of on-device AI chip might be useful in a Chromebook? Is that something that's potentially on the horizon? And what could that enable that we aren't doing already?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. I think one of the things that a belief / principle that we have is in particular on ChromeOS is we're not interested in delivering AI for AI's sake. We do it. We think that it needs to be delivered in a way that is delightful and helpful. Most importantly, helpful to the end user. And then it raises the question: okay, so then if you want to deliver great experiences, are you going to do that from the cloud or on device? And we're pretty firmly believe that it's not an either or, it's an and so some of these chips coming out from a lot of our partners are really powerful. NPUs are very powerful, and so absolutely looking at ways to unlock those, and in particular on device where perhaps things like latency are really important, or it's, especially the area I'm most excited about is kind of this personalized AI. And so, we all have access to a model, but I'd like a wrapper around the model that's a little bit more personalized to me and say my family's interests, so that if we're planning a trip to Croatia, you may have different interests, and so your itinerary may be different than mine, and so I think there's a lot of personalization on device that is going to be really important. But then I think about some of these enormous, highly intense compute models. Example is like generating video from a text prompt. I think those types of things are best done in the cloud, and at Google we've got some great assets to do those types of things, and so, or else lately the million token context window, that's primarily going to be done in the cloud for the foreseeable future. And so for us it's hybrid, but incredibly exciting to be able to do that.
Indeed. Thank you.
One of the most interesting things for me, seeing Chromebooks become more and more powerful over the years, is just the fact that a lot of Chromebooks nowadays seem to run Android apps as well as, if not better, than some actual Android devices. And this is a capability that ChromeOS has had for a long time, being able to run Android apps. But one thing I've always been curious about, is this something that people actually commonly use? Like, do people are actually running Android apps regularly on their Chromebooks? And if so, what kind of apps do you see people frequently use on their ChromeOS devices?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's been I'm glad you're finding that experience to work well for you. It's honestly been a journey. We were initially focused on just enabling the technology so that Android apps could run on a Chromebook, and then it was okay. Let's get the catalog. We need more and more apps, and then we kind of took a step back and said, it's okay. We've got enough of the apps at this point that can run on a Chromebook, but we really are not super pleased with the quality, and it's mostly on us, and also in partnering with some of our key developers to make sure they're optimizing for a Chromebook. But that quality is really, really important to us. I don't have the stats offhand, but we're seeing incredible usage of Android apps on a Chromebook, and it typically falls into a couple of different categories. The first is probably entertainment based, and so casual gaming, Android gaming on a Chromebook is perhaps the largest. It is the largest category, and you think about long tail Android games, but also you think about like Roblox and Minecraft. Those are Android based, and so it creates this great mechanism for us to work with partners to use Android. They've got millions and millions of customers using Android apps on phones, and so it's a lighter lift to get them to be able to optimize for ChromeOS.
Great.
So, like you mentioned, you highlighted how you've evolved the Android experience on Chromebooks. I just wanted to ask you quick: are there any really recent updates to the Android experience that you think are worth highlighting or pointing out to users?
Yeah, I probably. This is one that we announced this past week, but and it's not specific to Android, although Android games, but it is like a very critical one, and that's Game Dashboard. And so this is the ability to play a game. You can play an Android game or a cloud-based game, and you can record your experience while recording yourself. And that was like a very good evolution where we said, okay, we've been able to enable a lot more games on Chromebooks. We've improved the experience and the quality of the game. But then you talk to our customers, and they're like, "Yeah, it's great to be able to play these games, but I want to share. I want to record these games and share them through the channel of my doing." And so that's been we're really excited to see what our customers do with that. And then the other one that we also announced is game controls. And so a lot of these Android games are touch-based. And so, but then you're not able to leverage, mouse, keyboard. And so being able to overlay controls on the keyboard that typically were done for touch is another one that is tested really well.
So can you elaborate on the game aspect of it? Because that's something coming out of the event last week, and the carve out for Game Dashboard and what it can do. I wonder if you can elaborate on the decision going into it. And like you mentioned, you're doing testing or talking to users. Did you see gaming emerge as a user group being a surprise? Or or basically, how did you get there to the point where you're saying, okay, this is something we need to grow on in ChromeOS?
Yeah, you're gonna have to cut me off if I go too long on this topic, but it it's pretty clear when you talk to, say, a retail partner, kind of what are the questions that a customer asks when they come in to buy a new laptop, and there are a few things. There's like editing photo. Can I edit my photos? Can I use Office? And then there's a very big one. Can I play games on this? And so we've always known that it's a primary use case. And so our strategy was and is Android games, and then some of these amazing cloud gaming experiences as well, which I'm happy to go into there. So we've known for a while that this is an important area. It's what our customers are asking for. We knew that there would be a second evolution in terms of taking it just from being able to play a game to actually interacting, recording, using game controls. But it really, I felt like we needed to just get the experience out there first and talk to our customers through a lot of user studies to understand exactly how they want to take their gameplay to the next level. And I think we've found that. And so we're excited to see what happens with it.
Cool.
And just to follow up on this game dashboard feature that you're introducing, is this actually the same feature that's available through Google Play services on phones, but just running in ChromeOS? And like, is this available on any games, even like Steam games that you install on Chromebooks, or only the Android games that you install?
Yeah, good question. So I'll answer the second one first. It's all games, so you could be playing a cloud streamed game and still have game dashboard at your disposal. Obviously, do it with Android games as well. And then one of the cool things about working at Google is it is highly collaborative across teams, and so there are components of our implementation that we're able to borrow from teams like Android and other teams. And so there's a lot of, and I think it also goes back to, there's just a very strong belief within the company that, and a lot of people who want to see Chrome OS and Chromebooks be successful. And so it's kind of one of the cool things about working at Google is collaboration is alive and well. And so you approach a team about a technology that you think you could use. They're typically like, absolutely, here's how you do it. And next thing you know, you've got a really cool collaboration and implementation.
Great. So there was so much stuff announced at the event, the game dashboard, Gemini, etc. John, I'm curious if you have a personal favorite feature in this latest update that you are super psyched about, that you're super excited to share with folks.
Gosh, there are a lot. I probably say two. One of them is Magic Editor. So I've got 3 kids, and we take a lot of family photos, and they're just never like perfect. I think about like holiday cards and the pain that is getting a good photo with my family around the holiday season, and so I use it a lot. The example I always use is I went skiing with my son. He's 15. A year or two ago, he thought I was, the best thing since sliced bread. He's now 15, not as cool. And we're at the top of the mountain, and I was like, hey, let's take a selfie. He was not psyched to do it. And we're like, not even like within a foot of each other. And I was like, well, I like to remember when we were like really tight and close. And so I can move him closer to me. And then the background with the mountain, snow-capped mountain and trees just seamlessly fills in. So Magic Editor is a really, I love that feature. I use it all the time. And then I think just Gemini, like I continue to find more and more use cases for that, and having it, the PWA natively integrated into the shelf is something. Using Gemini Advanced, like you really, really feel the difference of using our best and latest models. And so those would probably be the two.
Going back to Magic Editor, personally, I think that's your, I don't know, secret weapon or whatever, or like underrated feature, because my wife loves all the AI stuff coming out, going back to our significant others, things like that. In Google Photos, being able to use Magic Eraser, things like that. But the number of times she's complained about having to only do it on her phone, and to see Magic Editor jump from the phone to a laptop display and be able to do it on a desktop, I think is huge for potential photo use. Right?
Yeah, I mean, my team is bored of me saying this, but like I think about like the example I use is like when you're on your phone, your elbows are in the air, but when you need to get stuff done, your elbows are on your desk, and you're interfacing typically with like you want a little bit more control and power, and so that's when you're on your laptop, and so elbows on the table, and just having an ability to be productive in this case in photo editing is a really really helpful. And it goes back to, I'm sorry to keep going back to this, but bringing the best of Google to the laptop form factor. And I happen to be one of the billion plus Google Photos customers, and so having it natively integrated into where I'm spending a lot of the time throughout the day is really helpful.
Very cool. You're the VP of ChromeOS. You're also a client.
Yes, also
Also a user.
Was that the hair loss for men?
Yes, yeah.
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, I'm late 40s now, so I think about these things
Yeah,
a lot.
same. Yeah. Well, it's funny. If I could very quickly divert, but we filmed a quick video before the event, and it's me like racing around the showroom and showing the camera everything that's about to happen. Then we go to the stage and like, this is where all and the whole goal is to be able to send it back to the team because we're representing so many people and their hard work. And Peter was following me along with his phone, and I watched the video and I was like, oh geez, I'm going bald. So
Yeah.
Anytime a camera happens to be behind me and accidentally shooting down, it's like, okay, that's a camera angle I don't need anymore.
So it's sobering, in fact.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's coming for us all. This thing called time.
Just magic edit that out.
Yeah, exactly.
There we
I
go.
know. Magic editor for video. There you go.
Pop open the Chromebook, you're good to go.
Well, John, and actually talking about the excitement around Gemini, you guys have a pretty aggressive offer for folks using Chromebook Plus by offering 1 year of Gemini Advanced with a purchase. That's a pretty compelling offer for somebody buying a Chromebook. If you're at your kid's sporting event and another parent comes up to you and says, hey, I need to get my kid a laptop, or if you're in the store, someone is looking to try to figure out what laptop to purchase, what advice would you give to the average consumer as they shop for a laptop, and why should they consider a Chromebook on top of the Gemini Advanced offer, of course? So.
Yeah. And I, you'd asked previously, what my favorite feature from the announcement was. I mentioned Gemini. I think even taking a step back, what I failed to mention was just being able to deliver AI at an affordable price point is something really important to us, and just the belief that you shouldn't need to spend or the most profound technology in human history shouldn't be reserved to people who can afford $1,000 device. So I think that accessibility is really important. Yeah. And then we didn't create Chromebook Plus to help my ability to answer the question from my neighbors and friends of which Chromebook to buy, but gosh, is it helping? And so, for me, I think if someone's asking me that question, it's, hey, if you want a progressive approach to computing, and especially if your child is used to using a Chromebook in class, and now giving them something a little bit more, and having the less controls that then kind of less of a lockdown experience than what your child may experience in a classroom, then a Chromebook Plus device is incredible for you. I love the Acer Spin 714, and of course with all Chromebook Plus devices, you get 12 months free of Gemini Advanced, which is just remarkable, and we're so happy to be able to share that with people all over the world.
The Acer Spin 714, that's the 2-in-1 right? That's the
it's 14-inch convertible with touch, 1440p QHD,
very cool.
Intel Core Ultra, great device.
Well, I got to admit, it's pretty compelling as being a parent and having to buy computers for my kids, soon. My kids are 5, but they're getting the hang of it, and I'm getting tired of them on my computer, to be honest. Have those price points, between $350 and on the high end, keeping it, we've seen a lot of expensive laptops recently from other folks, so it's nice to see your high end one still coming in well under $1,000 at $699. So that's pretty great. So yeah.
John, thank you so much for hopping on with us today and talking to us about this all. It's really wonderful to get kind of a deeper understanding of the mentality behind what the team is doing in ChromeOS, and how Gemini is really reaching all directions, reaching all corners of Google. Keep up the great work, and thank you for being with us today. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, Jason, Mishaal, thanks so much. I really appreciate the time, and hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Excellent. All right. Well, we want to thank John Maletis from Google ChromeOS for spending some time with us. As you can see, it was a very in-depth conversation. When you missed out, unfortunately, but you were at KotlinConf. But that leads right into the fact that I've got a Chromebook Plus right here. That's all nice and shiny. I actually got my hands on the Acer Chromebook Plus 514, which is the more affordable option in the Acer line. John had mentioned the Acer 714 Spin, which is the 2-in-1, the kind of laptop and tablet device that you can do as well. They also have, Acer has the Chromebook 516 GE, which is their gamer edition with the cool little light up keyboard. But I wanted to take a spin on the 514 because I wanted to see what the affordable side of a Chromebook Plus looked like, right? So with the Acer 514 Chromebook Plus, it's a 14-inch, there you go, I got it right here. It's a 14-inch display laptop, clamshell design, so the standard kind of, hinge design that you see for most laptops. It features a touchscreen, which is pretty neat. And it's got an Intel Core i3 processor, 8 gig of RAM, 512 gig of storage. It's got a 300 nit display. So I've been using this. I've been running it through its paces, both at home, at night, and during the day. And the display really holds up, no matter where I am. And it's got this great kind of steel gray colorway. They say two-tone military grade chassis in here. But I gotta admit, I was a little skeptical with Chromebooks in general because after being a user on a Mac laptop for so long, I just got so used to all of my workflows, whether it was for editing video with Adobe Premiere or editing podcasts on Audacity or, for years I worked for companies that were on Microsoft Office and all the things that John kind of mentioned in his interview. And I got to admit, getting some time with this Acer 514 really kind of opened my eyes first to how far ChromeOS has come. It really does feel much. I mean, Jason, I can't remember the last time I played with a ChromeOS device. I think it was that Samsung desktop they gave us back in 2015 at I/O. Mm-hmm. So it's been nearly 10 years since I've gotten any time on ChromeOS at all. I plugged a USB mouse in, worked fine. Did the touchscreen, worked fine. Like all my peripherals and accessories worked great. It did take a little getting used to because once I logged in and it pre-installed all the stuff I've installed on ChromeOS in the past, where I was like, no, I don't use Evernote anymore, but it remembered going back to almost 10 years ago, right? Yeah. And what's great about this whole experience was that, like I mentioned when we were covering the news, the Gemini AI stuff is overwhelming in the marketing, but it's not overwhelming in the experience. Right. So, and it's very, it's very easy to use the stuff that they have in there, right, through, just through a normal kind of, user experience. The AI stuff is there when you need it, but it doesn't take over the whole experience itself. As far as the laptop itself goes, I've used a lot of laptops in my time, both PC, Lenovo's, as well as Macs and things like that. The build quality on this is extremely, extremely impressive given the $349 price tag. At $349, I would expect something way more flimsy, way more cheap, way more, not as feeling as durable. But this one feels like a premium laptop. The fact that you can get this at Costco for less than $350, I think is fascinating. It's got USB-C, obviously, through the powering. It's also got two USB ports through USB-A ports on both sides, as well as USB-C on either side. It's got your headphone jack port. So it's got everything you need to be on the road and be productive. And my whole question is, could I use this as my daily driver kind of laptop? And after a couple of days with this, I've had it pretty much for less than a week. I'm at the point now where I'm like maybe 90% there, where I'm positive I could not only use it, but feel confident traveling with it and use it and using it as a main productivity device. And I go back in the comparison to a couple of months ago when I traveled and I took my Pixel tablet and the Logitech keyboard by itself. I'm like, I'm going to use this as my productivity device, right? Something I spent very similar amount of money on, a little less, at $290 or whatever the price on the Pixel tablet was when I got it when it came out. And it was barely functional as a productivity device. It was great as a media device and great as a kind of browsing device. But as far as doing email and working on documents and, doing a light media editing. I've edited some photos and things like that just to see how it all worked. This works great. I gotta admit, I'm really, really impressed and very tempted at having. Sorry, I just did an update. All the stuff got in there, got reset. But tempted to have it be a main. I don't know why it's not loading there, so I'll skip that. But tempted to have it be a daily kind of driver laptop experience because I feel like ChromeOS is at the point now where it could get it, so where it could do it. So thumbs up on the Acer Chromebook Plus 514. It's $349 available at Costco. And I would encourage you to check it out if you're on the fence about purchasing a laptop or you want a lower price laptop for your kids or something like that. I would, if my kids were a little older and needed a laptop for school, I would probably pull the trigger on this without even thinking about it after getting some time to play with it. So I'd probably give it maybe 4 stars out of 5. So
nice. Yeah, looks solid. ChromeOS has come a long way. They've really made, really got the OS to a much better level than they were a handful of years ago when it was easy to criticize it and feel like it's a second tier OS. You just have to work within the realm of the fact that, this is a laptop that runs as a browser, essentially. It's like a browser-based laptop for the most part. Most of what we do is online anyways. That's always been my experience the last handful of years. It's like, well, most of what I do is online. So why wouldn't this be enough for me?
Well, and going back to, Mishaal, a lot of your points about like as an Android user, and the fact that so many of the services and the applications that we depend on our phones are cloud-based, and the jump from, the fact that they can run Android apps on the, it keeps a continuity and experience, and the fact that I could easily install the WhatsApp desktop client, but it's the Android, whatever. I have WhatsApp on the laptop. That's all I need. I can stay in contact with my wife very easily. Google Photos works like a charm. I use Pixel Editor. I use Adobe Photoshop. Like so much stuff has moved to the cloud in the last 9 years since I last played with ChromeOS. I feel like ChromeOS and Chromebooks kind of get a bum rap because it's it's just a Chromebook or it's just this kind of thing. But honestly, for what, and again, I mean, it's the lower priced one, so it's I wouldn't say it's less powerful than the 714 or the 516 or the other number. The Intel Core i3 processor, and the 8 gig RAM. It's a little less powerful than the other ones, but for me, I'm not a major gamer. I'm not trying to do intensive stuff. For having being a businessman who's going on the road and needs to take his laptop to go answer emails while on the plane, in the airport waiting for the next flight, it would be able to do it without a problem. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, do you guys have any questions after for me getting some hands-on time with a Chromebook? Is there anything you're curious about or?
I don't know. I mean, I've been keeping kind of quietly up to date with what's going on with Chromebooks, but I haven't had any modern Chromebook. I think the last one I bought was an HP Chromebook X2 in 2018, so it's been a long time since I've daily driven a Chromebook.
Yeah.
So with all the changes in mind, I definitely want to try a more modern Chromebook Plus device out and see what it's like transitioning my workflow to that. I know there's going to be a lot of challenges because I use a lot of Windows-specific apps and also have a lot of custom registry edits, custom scripts, and all this stuff. And I'm like, can I migrate all that? How much of my? You mentioned 90%. How much of my workflow can I migrate over? I'd really be curious to test that out.
Yeah, it was funny because that was the I chatted with John at the event itself, and I said, really, that's my biggest thing. I've always been. I'm old. I'm getting older and stuck in my ways and that sort of thing. And it's can I do what I need to do on this laptop? And that was my mindset going into it as I was playing with it. And, with the exception of Audacity, which I use for audio editing, which you can install on a Chromebook if you enable a Linux development environment and install it from the terminal. But I'm purchasing this as an average user. But I found 3 other web apps or online cloud versions of podcast editors. The software has come a long way now to the point where the dependency on especially me being I'm not a Windows user, regex. Oh god, when you said oh my god, that brought back memories there, Mishaal. But being a Mac OS user, a lot of stuff I'm using is off the shelf or cloud based already, so what's the real difference? So So I'm glad I got some time with it. Thank you to Acer for lending it over to me. But I did want to mention that if you go to AndroidFaithful.com, you can read all the news that came out today about the Chromebooks, and it's got links over to Google's blog post explaining it all. But we summarized it all there on the website, so definitely go check that over at AndroidFaithful.com. And we're going to try to get some more Chromebooks into review. I know Jason, Mishaal, we were talking about you guys getting hardware to play with. I would love somebody to put the gaming device through its paces. And personally, I want to play with that 714 because I've never used the 2-in-1. So I'm curious what that experience would be like. But yeah, so thumbs up on this update though. I think they did a really good job here. So
Right on.
Whoa.
Good stuff. All right, Mishaal, we've got some app news. Starting with you, what you got?
That's right. So this is basically covering a minor bit of news that Google mentioned at I/O, and it's the fact that their smallest large language model, aka Gemini Nano, is finally opening up to some third-party apps. So for those of you who don't know, Gemini Nano has been used exclusively by Google applications like the Pixel Voice Recorder and Gboard, and I believe Samsung also uses it on some of their Galaxy AI features. But to this point, there haven't been any third-party applications from other developers that make use of Gemini Nano. But at I/O, Google teased that partners like Adobe, Patron, and Grammarly will be using Gemini Nano for various different use cases. So Adobe Acrobat, for example, is experimenting with Gemini Nano to use it to summarize documents on device. Now, Gemini Nano is, as I mentioned, like the smallest in the Gemini family of large language models. So it's kind of unclear how effective or how large of a PDF document it'll actually, take as context. And this is where that whole context window, 2 million tokens things come into play. Like Gemini Nano cannot take like 1,000-page PDF, but it can probably take like a couple of pages. And in the video that Adobe shared with Google and they showed on stage, like there's like a 20-ish page document on pickleball rules that got summarized. So that could be useful. That feature right now is actually already available in the Adobe Acrobat app, but it's done on the cloud. They have to upload your PDF to the cloud before it can summarize it.
Does pickleball have 20 pages worth of rules?
Good question.
I've never played pickleball. I just assumed
I don't know.
Just hit the ball back and forth, right? Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, and so Patreon is planning to use it to allow creators to get like summaries of messages that they might have missed. And Grammarly is experimenting with it to have on-device grammar suggestions. So like the Grammarly app has like this floating window that can follow you in any app. And that right now, the AI-powered suggestions is uploading your text to the cloud and then giving you grammar recommendations. Yep. This would happen on device. So the cool thing with I think this is one killer use case.
Agreed.
Like actual interesting use case of Gemini Nano. Yeah. And so these features, of course, since they require Gemini Nano, they'll only be available on select devices, which currently only includes the Google Pixel 8 Pro and soon the Pixel 8 and 8a with the June update, as well as the Samsung Galaxy S24 series, so the regular model, the Plus, and the Ultra. Gemini Nano is coming to more devices in the future. We don't know which devices or when, but we know it's expanding support. And this is one of those interesting things, like if third-party developers wanted to build out their own on-device generative AI-powered features, they would have to bundle a generative AI, like a large language model, with their applications. And that would require like 1+ gigabyte worth of model bundling. Like Gemini Nano, I'm pretty sure is like around a gigabyte, if not a little bit bigger than that. But because this is being powered by an API, like developers can use this SDK called the AI Edge SDK for Android. They can implement into the application, and then they can call the Gemini Nano APIs. And so every app that wants to use Gemini Nano can just have it use the same large language model downloaded all onto the device instead of having to bundle their own 1+ gigabyte large language model and like have your apps balloon in size. So this is a really cool use case. It's only enabled by on-device AI, and it's powered by this new AI Core system service that Google has introduced on Android 14 devices like the Pixel 8 Pro and Galaxy S24 series.
I will say that the Grammarly thing is a killer execution of it, because as somebody who uses the Grammarly plugin on my desktop, the back and forth, I feel the lag. And if it's doing it on the device, that'd be great. The Patron summarizing email, like all these examples of like Gemini can summarize your
thing.
Yeah, it's not. I want to talk to someone who's actually using it to summarize that sort of stuff and invite, because I feel like the time spent saying summarize this thing and then waiting for it and reading the summary, you can just read the dang message. That's I mean,
I mentioned this last week on the show. Like, all these companies are literally just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. We're at that phase where nobody has any real idea of what's actually going to be the future. People are just trying things out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the challenge with summarizing is, these models still are imperfect and probably always will be. So you can summarize and they can get that speed faster, but you still you probably want to scrutinize what comes back through that, and that takes time as well. So you're right, Ron. Sometimes the amount of time that it takes, it might be faster to summarize, but then, you want to check your data before you just run with it, and that's going to take you some time, and sometimes it might even take you longer because you got to find that specific piece of information instead of just reading it. So
You got to ground those answers.
Yep.
In reality.
Yeah, indeed.
That's a little harsh, but.
But yeah, take it.
Sorry.
One more thing.
Wait.
If you're an app developer who wants to actually use Gemini Nano in your app, you'll unfortunately have to wait a little bit because these 3 partners are in the private early access program that Google's opened up, and they're not accepting any more applications, and it's not clear, when this will be available to all developers. So while it's exciting that Google's opening up to some third-party app developers, we'll have to wait a bit before everyone can actually use it in their applications.
Yeah, indeed. And you have to wait for this next piece of news as well. There's just a whole lot of waiting going on right now in the world of Android and Google and announcements and stuff. The Google Home app for Android will soon, probably, according to code that has been spotted by 9to5 Google, be getting a new favorites widget. So if you have certain actions inside of Google Home that you do very often, I'm actually really happy about this, then you can save those particular actions to kind of like a favorites grid. You can't do this yet, actually. I should specify. This is not available yet. This is just spotted in the code and activated through an APK teardown. But probably very soon you'll be able to create this widget and pull out the actions that matter most to you, or those are the ones that, instead of opening up the app or pulling down the quick settings and, going 2 to 3 points to get into it, it's just on your home screen instead. I will definitely be using this for a few actions that I have in mind. So I don't know when we're going to see this, but I would imagine if it's kind of being roped into the app right now, probably not too much longer. We'll probably see this soon, hopefully.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I think so too.
All right. All right. Well, it's been a long one. Thanks for that interview, that chat with John. But we do have time for one email because we got a bunch of feedback. In fact, all the email we got between last week's episode and this week's episode was about this one topic.
Oh, wow.
So our first email, our only email, comes from Rohan, who writes in and says, "Hey, Android faithful team. I've had a really great time listening to the crew. I wait for the new episode to drop every Tuesday. Lately, I've been feeling some FOMO as an audio-only listener, so I might have to switch over to the video version soon. I wanted to talk about 2 things that were mentioned towards the very end of last week's episode. Ron, for notification history, if you have no notifications, simply tapping on the no notifications text in the notifications shade will open the history. I stumbled upon this completely by accident. It works on my Pixel 8 Pro. Hope it works for you and your device." So this is where I'll pause. This is the response that so many of you wrote in about, pointing out last week I complained about if you can access your notification history if you have current notifications, but if you didn't have any notifications, you couldn't get to that history. Well, it turns out that if you do just tap no notifications, it pulls up your notification history.
It's kind of an Easter egg.
Which is like the most unintuitive thing ever.
It is
Am I
very
wrong?
intuitive.
Oh,
That's Easter egg territory.
just put text, tap to notification history, whatever. You shouldn't have to discover that. But yes, that is the solve. Thank you to everyone who emailed. I contacted Android Faithful to tell me that. Rohan also chimed in on the avoid highways in Google Maps. He said, avoid highways can actually be a useful option for Google Maps navigation. I know friends and family use it when they're learning to drive or not quite comfortable driving on highways. In a place like the San Francisco Bay Area, you can definitely get between cities without using highways, even if it takes much longer. Maybe it doesn't work as well in other places, though. Keep up with the great work on the podcast and new website. Cheers, Rohan. And thank you, Rohan, and all the legions of you Android faithful who wrote in to tell me how to get to the notification history. Felt very dumb that I didn't know that, but clearly I'm not alone. The three of you didn't know it. Mishaal, Mr. Android, you didn't know that last week. Did you know that?
Well, I knew about the other way to access the notification history, because if you have a notification and you pull down your status bar all the way, there is a button that says notification history, I'm pretty sure.
Sure, yeah, if you have a notification. But this
But yeah, I didn't know about tapping the empty text.
You need to write an article about that,
That's like an
I think,
anti-pattern,
Mishaal, I think you need to write an article for AndroidFaithful.com about that function.
That's just terrible. Why would you ever think an empty state would have more data in it? I'm really
that
sorry.
wild?
Like, no. Like, I would never tap that.
I am not wrong in thinking that is an unacceptable answer, Google. No. I want a distinct action button or text there to tell me. I demand it in 15. So
Beautiful. Well, with that healthy amount of like criticism and rage, that is it for us on this episode of Android Faithful. I am really glad to be back. I really did miss you guys like the last week.
It's good to have you back.
And I'm really glad I got to catch some time with Mr. Jason Howell before he goes off on vacation. Jason, what do you want the people to know? What you doing?
Well, just for the record, I'm here next week.
You are next week. My bad.
And I can't remember if I'm here. I think it's next week, and then I'm out. Going
yes,
to Italy.
you're here
Can't wait.
next week, and then you're out starting June 11th.
Oh my goodness! And so thank you for y'all covering for me while I'm gone for 3 weeks. Basically, is what it's going to be. But what have I been doing? Hey, if you like to listen to me talk, and you like to listen to Ron talk, and you like to listen to people talk about technology nostalgia and tell stories about themselves, basically me asking Ron questions about his childhood growing up with technology, how it's influenced his life, pinball, desktop publishing, BBSs, the whole 9 yards, then you need to check out last week's episode of the TechSploder podcast, which you can get to by going to youtube.com/@TechSploder or just techsploder.com.
I was honored to be on the show. And,
it was so much fun.
And Jason, I think I talked to you more than my wife. So last week at least.
That day.
Yeah.
Just on that day.
Okay. Anyways, thanks for coming on, Ron. It was a blast.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I got to put that one on stream. Mishaal, you're always busy, but what do you want the people to know about that you're up to right now?
Well, if you want to find out what's happening in Android, because there's a lot of things all the time going on, Google never sleeps, and so I will never sleep either. You can follow me on Patreon.com. You can support me on Patreon.com/Rahman and join the Discord community. And actually, I just updated my profile picture everywhere, so you can see the new face that I got at Google
see
I/O.
it.
New picture.
I/O.
It's very colorful.
And if you want to see the work that I do, you can go to. Yeah, it was right in front of the I/O logo from an angle. And if you go to my link tree, it's like linktr.ee/Mishaal Rahman, you can see all the links that I have to all the social media profiles on Twix, Discord, Telegram, Reddit, Threads, Mastodon, etc., etc. And that's where I post all the work that I do. I post links to all the work that I do, which is a lot. So I write about Android for many different sites. So there's many different places you can follow me. And if you don't like one platform or you prefer one over the other, go take a look on whatever site you prefer.
Not only does Mishaal give you the important, critical Android news every week, he gives you a lot of variety and choices from which to consume this information. Thank you, Mishaal. Ron, you, apart from being guests on fabulous new YouTube channels run by other fabulous people, what else are you up to, and what do you want the people to know?
I was going to plug TechSploder, but he took the wind out of my sails, so there we go. Yeah. No, but actually, follow me over on social at RonXO. on everything. I'm most active probably on Instagram. Posting a lot about movies lately. So if you're curious what movies I'm enjoying, you can check that out. But seriously, we talked about it a lot on the show, but go to AndroidFaithful.com. Check out our new website. That's where you can find all these podcast episodes, as well as we're covering news as it comes in where we can. You got Mishaal's fantastic Android Decoded newsletter, which is rolling. And you can go there, and that's another place where you can go to support us. You can sign up at the same levels that you can sign up at Patreon, and it unlocks access to our premium content. Win, you're going to have some great content coming up soon with your dialogues content coming up. Really excited to see that. So just remind everybody to go to AndroidFaithful.com. So.
Yeah. So, I think we're going to get my first interview up for Android Faithful Dialogues up really soon. And otherwise, I'm an Android developer. You can find my personal stuff at my website, randomlytyping.com. I'm also on Instagram, also on Queen Code Monkey. But yeah, actually, if you are curious about kind of what I did in Copenhagen, I didn't actually go to the conference very much, but I did do interviews. And my first one is with a friend, Maya. I'm not going to get her last name right, but with Maya. So yeah, if you want to see what I was doing at KotlinConf, you can check it out, and you can check out the new Kotlin mascot, Cody, who is that little purple fuzzy mascot on the table there. I did take that home with me. I asked to steal it because apparently Cody, that little purple guy, is Cody, Kotlin mascot. I did steal it. I didn't steal it. I asked very nicely for it, but yeah. The interviews will be coming out. We're talking to a lot of people, so if you're interested in anything Android or Kotlin-y, check it out. But that's it. Thank you all for joining us this week. We could not do the show without you. As Ron said, you can go to AndroidFaithful.com to support us. And of course, if you are more of a Patreon person, Patreon.com/AndroidFaithful. This podcast publishes every Tuesday evening. And yeah, subscribe, AndroidFaithful.com. Email us at contact@AndroidFaithful.com. And yeah, we will see you next time as we are the Android Faithful. I did not get the timing on that right.
You got it.
Oh, there we go.
Got it.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I shouldn't have said anything. I was just
Cousin of John.
Yeah, you were good.
I'm sorry we didn't fight about Rabbit this week.
Oh, it's okay.
We could have.
We've fought about Rabbit a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't mention that I got the Pixel 8a, that I've been using that for like,
Nice.
I don't know.
Did you publish that review yet or no?
No, I don't have a
cool.
review yet.
Are you going to do it before you go to Italy or?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's my plan. Yes, I've got so much to do.
Oh, man. Well, that's the price you pay for going to Italy.
It's the price you pay. You have to do all the work in advance. I'm recording lots of pre-records and stuff like that. And yes, I want to get at least that review up before I leave for Italy. So that's my plan. Right. But I mean, the thing about the A series, right? Like like year after year, it's just that dependable phone that it's
great.
Another great A series phone. You know what I mean?
I haven't even seen any contrarian hot takes on why it's not good. Everyone has been like, this is the phone, right? I mean, I don't know, Mishaal, you probably are plugged in more than I, but has anybody panned it? I don't think anybody's panned it.
I mean, most of the negative reviews have just been saying get the Pixel 8 instead of this.
Right.
Like, they're not saying it's a bad phone,
right,
in
price-wise.
any way. They're just saying that value-wise, that the Pixel 8, if you can afford the increase in price, is worth getting over the 8A.
Look at this photo.
Oh.
Wow.
Like
That's
it
really
was
good.
like it was the perfect. I was going for like a 7 a.m. walk with my dog, where we were camping this weekend, and the sun started streaming in, and I was like, holy moly, I have to capture this. And I mean, this is a $500 phone, and like the pictures it takes are excellent. It was just kind of the perfect opportunity to get the sun right behind Bronson, and it just turned out so well. So
It's not a 8A, but can I brag? Because I've recently gotten some amazing photos with my Pixel Pro. Where is it?
the 8 Pro?
Yeah,
Is
the
that what you
Pixel
have, the
8 Pro. Pixel 8 Pro. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This weekend, again to show off my kids, but getting these pictures are just ridiculously good.
Yeah.
That one wasn't as good, but so much foreground, background kind of
Right.
stuff.
You got
that was
some depth
that's
of field.
And
Now, were you playing around with portrait mode for that, or
yeah,
were you
these are all
using-
portrait. Yeah, those were all
using-
portrait mode. And then where is it? Then we went to a fair this weekend and got amazing portrait mode shots of the kids on the Like they gave me, Google did this for me. Like, we have a new color pop for you. I'm like, why would I
Yeah.
do that? Yeah.
That's great.
But just some great, just crystal clear, really good. Like,
Yep.
come on, like
Dependable.
and not even like that's getting a kid on a ride that's going in a circle. You know, like it was. Yeah, it was some good stuff. I'm really happy with the camera lately. So
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I use the Nothing phone. What was it? 2A or God, I can't even keep the name straight anymore. And I mean, that's, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And that's why when I do an 8A series phone, and really Pixel in general, that's why I love them so much, because with almost any other.
oh, we lose Jason.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no.
Did I just disappear?
Oh, there you
Oh,
are.
there you
Yeah,
are.
you
You're
just,
back.
yeah,
You're
you
back.
just locked
He
up.
froze.
Oh, that's
Good thing that
weird.
didn't happen during the show. So.
Yeah, I'm happy it didn't. But anyways, my point being, like, it's always working when you want it to work. From a camera perspective, I can pick up this phone and 99 out of 100 times I'm going to get the picture that I wanted to get out of it, And with the Nothing phone, it was like, oh yeah, there's some good ones in there, but it's never like that, like exact, that successful. So, anyways,
All right, should we pick a show title?
Title time.
yes, we should, and. Kotlin Confidential, the real Google I/O.
Ooh, that's spicy, but
That is spicy. That's super
Kotlin
spicy.
Confidential.
Google
How
TV
sexy
will
is your
find a
camera
remote.
bump. Thank you so much. I said that for the title. I did it for the title.
This camera is too sexy for your phone.
Just like-
I fixed
Pixels in
this.
Copenhagen.
What's that?
Oh, the pixels in Copenhagen.
Kotlin Confidential, the real Google I/O. That's
y'all gonna get me in trouble with
I know.
yeah. I
Yeah,
don't want
a
to get
little
you in
bit.
trouble.
I think we might have to go with Clinton's very stoic, simple Chromebook news, Chromebook Plus news, because that's the bulk of the episode.
That is the bulk.
If someone come up with a more fun version of that, then yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, instead of asking AI, we'll ask each of you who's watching live right now, each of you create one alternative to that title.
I do love the Kotlin Confidential title, but we're trying to be all just
Yeah.
not play
no,
favorites.
No, you don't need to explain it. I totally get
I
it.
appreciate it.
Yeah. So Chromebook Plus AI. Chromebook Plus AI. That's kind of like Microsoft's. What was it?
Chromebook plus AI equals Gemini. Someone,
Oh,
I
That's
get
not
it.
bad.
Like,
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Plus AI.
I'll put that in the chat. Well, it's not gonna add here. Actually, it kind of rhymes too.
It does. Yeah, I like the what the
Do we
I don't know what the
spell it
term
out?
is for that, but
Yeah, spell it out.
yeah,
Chromebook Plus AI equals Gemini.
Gemini. Yeah.
Okay.
Chromebook Plus AI equals Gemini. Yeah,
And I'm
actually,
spelling
that's
out
a
the plus
really-
because it's Chromebook
that's a-
Plus, right?
Yeah, it's a really good
Ah,
title.
nice.
Yeah.
Got
So,
it.
Yeah.
It's
very
got
good.
layers like an onion.
Teamwork. I like the teamwork.
Makes
So.
the dream work.
Indeed.
That's what they say. That's what the kids say. They say teamwork makes the dream work.
You know what the kids also say? Apparently, Gen Z says that low ankle socks are out. They're for
Yeah, I
old
heard of that.
people. I don't know why.
Oh, really? I just got.
I don't
mine
know,
out.
but I know I'm rocking some ankle socks.
I have nothing but ankle socks. I'm sorry.
Yeah. There's, we're always older than someone.
That's true.
Think about it. It's true. All right. It is almost the top of the hour. Do we have any
Yes.
final things before we wrap?
I don't think
I
so.
let my downloads start to churn.
I think we're good. Yeah,
good.
good time. Good time, everybody.
Audio levels were okay. I know that in that pre-record, man, my mic was louder than everybody else.
Well, now
So
we have
I'm
that
happy to-
solved. So
Yeah, I'm happy we have the system now.
I'm
so
sorry I
that'll
didn't
help.
catch that. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean,
Yeah.
you can't really catch it very
Right, yeah,
easily.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
the whole thing.
All right.
So
well,
yay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, y'all.
We'll see you
Thank
next
you
week.
all for
Next
being
Night.
here.
We'll be back.
Have a
Good
wonderful
night.
evening. See you tomorrow on AI Inside, if you like.